Hello, my name is Svetlana, and today I'm going to be talking to you about dragons and fairies. Mystical, magical, and powerful. One of the main questions that I'm sure everyone has asked themselves concerning these creatures is, if competing over a common resource, who will win, the dragon or the fairy? To answer this question, we can use phase planes derived from the competitive Lotka-Volterra equations. These equations are used for modeling competition between two species sharing a common resource. The model can apply to any two species, but our model today will be looking at arguably the best creatures on Earth, dragons and fairies. So, to answer our question, let's take a look at phase planes. Phase planes are graphs used to model the behavior of physical systems, in this case, the population growth rate of two different species. We can create many possible phase planes, and here is one of them. Here, the population size of dragons is on one axis, and the population size of fairies is on the other. This line here is called the zero growth isocline, and represents all the possible combinations of dragons and fairies when the growth rate of dragons is 0. The intercept here is K sub d, the carrying capacity of dragons, otherwise known as the number of dragons that can fill up all of the dragon's environment. The y-intercept, K sub d over alpha df, is the number of fairies needed to fill up all of the dragon's environment. To tell us when the dragon and fairy will coexist, we can plot both species on the same axis. An easy way to tell which isocline represents which species is by looking at the intercepts. K sub d represents the species of dragon, and K sub f the species of fairy. Now, given any combination of dragons and fairies, we can tell when one species will outcompete the other and when they will coexist. This is done by drawing vectors on the phase plane, which will tell us the speed and direction that the populations are changing in. Let's say we have 20 dragons and 20 fairies. Here are some helpful hints that we can follow. If the point is above the isocline, population size is decreasing. If the point is below the isocline, population size is increasing. Given these helpful hints, we can see we are above the isocline for dragons, so dragons are decreasing in population size. We are also below the isocline for fairies, so fairies are increasing in population size. So, the overall net direction of the vector will point here, towards K sub f. In this scenario, the species of fairy will competitively exclude or outcompete the species of dragon, with the fairy being the winner. It's important to note that this is just one scenario of competitive exclusion. We looked at a phase plane that looks like this, but depending on the carrying capacity, the phase plane can look like this, or this, or this, with completely different outcomes. Sometimes the two species will coexist, sometimes one will competitively exclude the other, or sometimes it's a toss-up which one will. It's important to know which species will coexist or when one will exclude another, when considering the impact that invasive species might have on populations and more.